Hello everyone, welcome to my studio. My name is Robin McClendon. I'm a mixed media artist. I work extensively on the gel plate. Wrote this book, Gel Plate Printing for Mixed Media Art. If you're new to my channel, we are going through this book and I'm fleshing out these techniques and adding to them in significant ways in every chapter. So join us if you haven't already. I also am a book artist, a painter, collage. So I use a lot of these techniques in a mixed media way. We have a lot of fun on our channel, and welcome to all of the regulars, and we're hanging out and chatting up in Premiere. Join us there if you haven't in the past. And let's get started. So we are now in chapter 7, and chapter 7 is ink blots. And you know how we love a good ink blot. Yes. Now, you know, why ink blots? Well, first of all, I happen to really love it as a contrasting piece. And if you monoprint with an ink blot, it looks completely different than if you just drop the ink blots on a page. You know, you really get this kind of wicking and development of the blot that happens from using different papers and using different types of inks and what have you. So what I also like to say is that you can pull a fresh print like an old wall or something and print on it, but literally you can take a waste sheet, just a waste sheet you've been brayering off on, and then if you come back and ink blot them, just throw some ink on the plate and create ink blots, and then from there maybe coffee stain it or something like that, you really end up with a piece of paper that you can use wonderfully as collage material. Like nothing has to be thrown away. So, you know, you can take at the end of a printing session. This is a good technique to do it at the end of a session where you can plop some inks on your plate and, you know, really put some on your some of your pieces and just add another dimension. Also, you know, we've been using the Spring Valley inks. Many of you purchased those from our community. A woman in our community has been making these bespoke. Cindy, we love these inks. There'll be more coming in the April and May first Fridays. They are limited. So if there isn't color that you really want, you know, you can always put your name on the wait list, which is right there underneath the item. And then I let Cindy know that, and it helps her to fill batches. So it may take, you know, a couple of months because it is bespoke, but you will get it that way if you let us know that you really want that color. So just keep that in mind. Also, I'm using the Sennelier inks. We can use Sumi ink. I also have done some paint mixtures using water and a little bit of alcohol, because alcohol, you know, absorbs and dries so much faster. So yeah, I have things on the plate, including some ink, so we can just go ahead and I'll just kind of pull a sheet. That's always, you know, cool to do. Let me put some gold down. So we can pull a sheet. I'm going to use the Golden's Iridescent Bronze. Or, you know, you may already have papers that, you know, are sitting around that just have color on them, and so you want to go ahead and just do ink blots on those. You know, it's a lot of ways to approach this. And now the ink blots, this is one of those techniques that you can go ahead and print up a new page in your journal, or we can go back over some of the pages we've already done and you know, print those. So it's designed to be sort of an add-on. Oh, sorry, it's falling. It's designed to be like an add-on technique. So you're going to add it on to something you already have going. You know, now you can also print up a full page in your book as well. But, you know, I like to think of this as definitely as an a la carte technique. So you use it in conjunction with something else you're doing. You know, I already started making some pieces. So here I just did it on, I used some red, some sepia, walnut, black ink, and it can become a contrast piece that can go into onto a printed sheet, so we can do some collage elements, which I think are really cool. And I also, you know, started doing some more subtle ink blots on pieces that were already printed. You can sort of see them here too. So that, you know, sort of work in subtle and bold to create pages that we can work in our journals. So of course there's a lot of ways to go about this. There's not just one way to approach these techniques, and if anything that I get across as we're working together in this series, that's a big one that I want to get across to you, that, you know, mix and match your techniques. That looks good. So we can see that gold on there, the white, got a good print there. And since now I have this sort of white down, let's put something darker that's going to pull this. And then we'll see sort of the white striping on there. It'll pick all of this up. Let's just go ahead and use Payne's Gray. Let's get a full sheet of that. And even though, so with ink blots on this one, we could always use white, like the white Sumi ink. You make a white paint. But since I saw those white lines down there, I couldn't resist wanting to pull them with a darker color. And I love Payne's Gray, so I feel like that's a good one to go with. Okay. Okay. So this is the menu tissue. And I'll have some more of this. I will have some of this, not more of it. It's the first time I'll be carrying it. But I'll have it in the First Friday shop. And I know that a lot of times stuff goes fast in the First Fridays. I apologize. I'm always trying to add more. But it is a small shop. I purchase everything up front. So, you know, I never know how much anybody really wants. And, you know, at a point, you don't want to get stuck with too much stuff in your shop that nobody wants. So I kind of been a little bit... and every month I add more, and every month it seems like more sells faster. So we've added a wait list feature to the shop. So if you go in there and something's out of stock, just make sure where it says, it'll be right underneath there. It'll say like, leave your email. And then, you know, you leave the email and you submit it, and then it'll let us know that you want that particular product. And so I have team members who are tracking all that information, and then they'll reach back out around the 15th of the month. We're kind of doing it. So around the 15th of every month, if you've done, if you let us know that you want something, then we'll reach out to you around that time. And it'll allow you to open up the shop, go in and get what you want. You'll be able to purchase it. And then in the next First Friday sale, you'll get it straight off the top, you know. So it's a way to keep from getting up at the crack of dawn or missing out. So we kind of did that as a way to just kind of help solve that problem. Because I don't want to be that person where every time you go to the shop, like stuff is missing. That sucks. So apologies. See how it did the white? So all of that white was left down there from the first pull of the paint. Plus we've got some pinks and some golds. But that's really nice. I like that. So we could even just leave that as it is. Or, of course, use the white ink blots on there. And I do have white Sumi paint. So I think we'll play with that with the white and see what we get. Okay, so let's get to the ink blot part of it, because... that's what we're working on this time. So I started printing this. That Payne's Gray with that gold is really good. So we can start ink blotting this up because it gives us a little bit of paint on there, and it gives us stuff to work with. You know, just all kinds of things. Now this is a red with bronzes that I made. It's very liquidy, and it's gonna actually ink blot in a light sort of pink. It's so pretty. So like what I want to show today is ink blots don't have to be just ink or just black, and they don't have to be, you could have different opacities. And what's nice about that is that, let me get another piece of paper. Oh, here. This is what I've been using. What's nice about that is that it really does allow for you to get various shades and buildup of ink blot, so that you don't just have a dark one that's competing, you know, with everything else on the page. We can build up these subtle ones and then just keep on building them up and get these subtle layers, you see? Now I did that with a red paint. So you can just mix up some of the paint you already have. So if you don't have inks, just go ahead to your acrylics and put a little bit of water just put an amount in, you know, maybe a couple inches of color. And then maybe a half a teaspoon of water and mix it up, stir it up first, and then come back with maybe half a teaspoon of alcohol. And what the alcohol allows for it to do is it starts drying so much faster, so that you don't have like this soppy paper that you're waiting for it to dry, because it starts drying as we are, you know, sitting here. So that would be creating something with the, I have a Payne's Gray here too. Let's put some Payne's Gray down. And we're going to keep on putting stuff on this sheet. The reason for the ink blots, putting it on the plate, is because, like I was saying earlier, you just really get, first of all, you get more of a mono printed blot. And you get something that is really organic and just beautiful versus just spots of just dropping it. Now this is going to be a little lighter till it dries, but you can sort of see how we're building up this color. So let's keep going. So I have a walnut here that I like. It's a nice brown, so let's put some of that around. This is the Sennelier inks. So just go into your stash and grab inks. And you just want to keep laying it down. I just layer one thing over another. So you can see. So I'm gonna let that sit for a minute, and let's get this piece that we were working on. Let's go ahead and put this down and grab this brown. So that's why you want some extra pieces around, so that you can just keep on sopping up color. Next, sort of lift it up and put some down in different places. And then you can use your waste paste to pick up piece if you want to pick up more, to clean the plate. That's good. So let's see what color do I want to go with. Okay, so I have remember how we were using, let's try this yellow in the Spring Valley. I'm just curious to see how this is going to, well, I kind of shook it up and got color everywhere. That's okay. I'll just ink blot it. Let me get a paper towel. Okay. Okay. So let's see, that should be nice on this, in this color palette here. these creams and whites and what have you. Get another fresh piece of paper here. Copier paper. And when I'm done with this copier paper, I definitely will coffee stain it. And then that becomes collage paper too. This turmeric is so pretty. It's just vibrant too. Wow, look at that pops. That just pops so beautifully against the creams and the browns. And this hasn't dried yet either, so more pops up, you know, as they dry. They definitely get brighter. And then with this same one, we can now add a little bit of the black to make it, and the black will just really make all the ink blots pop. So just small dots, kind of cool. If you really want what's down there to show, you know, you kind of want to do smaller black dots because the black will take over. But we like black ink dots, so we can't, I mean, you know, ink blots, so we can't really complain, can we? Okay. Put that down. And I kind of have a tendency to do the black last because I really feel like it pops, and then, you know, after you've done a lot of your other colors, it really, you know, it's quite bold. Okay. Yeah. So you can sort of see that. And I did smaller blots. And I think, let me shake this. It's gonna hurt to put a couple of large ones like right on this edge. Because it's kind of like, you see, it's really nothing there. So let's put something there. Still missed that up there. Let me just get let's get a blot. Okay. So you can kind of plan, you know, you can kind of just put them where you want them to as you're working your sheet. So this is all, in my opinion, designed to be collage fodder. You know, pieces that we're thinking about in terms of collage. But of course, you know, you could do whatever you want to do with them. See, those nice big pieces give us more collage, you know, like large ones, small ones. So sort of, you know, alter the shape as well so that you have different things to pull from when we go to do the next part of this. And the next part of it is going to be, we are going to go back over one of our prints, or you can print a new one. Like, you know, you can keep each of the old ones exactly how you had them. You can print a new one. I printed a new one, just so you know. So I printed the next one in the series, which this is what we did the last time. And so I printed this one, and so I plan on collaging over it. So if you want to print one, you know, then we're going to collage over it. And I just used the Mark Rothko 2-color, and then I came back with some white over it. So we have some pages to work with, and I will be back. I also thought I had forgotten about doing the white. So before we move on to actually working in our journal, let's use the white Sumi ink, and let's just get some ink blots on this Payne's gray paper. If you're working with a thin paper, it's always nice to put down a paper that's going to absorb it so that you don't smear the ink underneath, because it will smear. Okay. Ooh. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Oh, and that's really cool. Oh, I love that. Wow. Look how it really just moved around and did some really cool ink blots. So that's just great collage paper. Alrighty, so I wanted to make sure I wanted to see what it was, so I didn't want to leave you all out. So we'll be back in just a second to work in our book. Okay, so let's finish up our ink blot project. Oh, I just put some of that piece down to absorb some of the white. So let's pull from, I'm going to go and do some collaging. So this is always a cool way to kind of add to what we're doing. I think I'm going to go with some of this bold pattern, and I'm going to go with this. I really like this. Just figure out which piece I want. I think I want that piece. I like this gold. So we're going to collage on here, and one of the ways we're going to do this is, those of you who've been around for a while, you know, stranger to this, we're going to use water to give like this sort of edge on here. I think I'm going to go right down here. So the water will actually really loosen up the fibers. And then, so I want to see some of this area here. I really liked the way that deeper color printed. So let's take some of this like that. And then this area here where there's no, you know, paint, let's just follow that line and get rid of that extra paper. Excuse me. It'll just give just a really more interesting edge to our piece. So if you follow the paint, generally the this paper is going to release on, you know, on the other side of the paint. So the paint, because it's thicker than the paper, it'll act as a stop. You still want to be careful so you don't lose anything that you want to lose, but this works really well. Okay, so that looks good. We'll get a little bit of this top off. Okay. So when I go to put this down, this is going to integrate beautifully. And I'm going to get this side off as well. I don't want that. Let's get that. Okay. So it's kind of going to be like an old wall, sort of mixed in with an old wall. So let's go ahead and let me get a piece of paper to put our glue on. Let me get my glue stick. Let's go ahead and glue this up. I always start from the center, especially when you're working on thin paper and out, because in that way you get better coverage and you don't have to worry about coming back in and then the paper sort of doubling back on top of you, if that makes sense. Because once it starts getting moisture in it, it's harder to, you know, work with. Now this is going to not go quite as translucent as it will go if you use a white glue. So if you really want it to disappear, then using like a white glue, it really disappears. But this, with this menu tissue, it really does a good job of integrating into the page. So you really can still see through it, which is nice. So I'll show you up close. So you see how it just kind of goes in and it basically disappears. So we get this really beautiful kind of texture and color integration onto this background. Really love it. And so I think what I'm going to do here, and I may come back with some other techniques. And now remember, this whole idea of this is it's a la carte, right? So we can double back over our previous prints and do things if we want, or we can keep them pure as each technique. There'll be times that I will double back and do collage on things. So as we move forward, there'll be other explorations and stuff that we do. And so some of these may come back and be grounds for that. But you can always print, new pages and keep going, because we got plenty of pages in this book. So we're not going to be short on and you know, where I'm doing one every week. You know, obviously you can go through this book and do more. I think mine is set up to get at least 1 week, so 52 weeks. But you know, you may go through yours a little faster and then do another book. So it's no, you know, just kind of have fun with it, and no rules, just work at your pace. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of cutting around some of these, I mean, not cutting, but I'm sort of fussy tearing around some of those ink blots so that I don't have like a solid line. I want to sort of, okay. I want to put this down in a way that we see some of it, but you know, we're getting, so it looks like that. We don't want it to just be flush. Okay. So part of it too is on this one, get some of this out of the way. I feel like I want a little bit more color over there before I put that down. So let's see what we have. Wait a minute. Let's look at this piece. That's interesting with the ink blots. I wonder if I did this on top, because you can definitely layer on top and get some really cool stuff. But I really like this dark. I really feel like the dark is a little bit more of a contrast than that. I think I'm going to hold on to that. I think I'm going to use this. I really like this right here. This whole bit. Okay, let's just try tearing this first and see what we get. Right up against this line. It's funny how you think you have one sort of idea in your mind's eye, and then you come back and you see something completely different. Like, I like that. So let's tear some of this off. And let's tear a little bit of this at the top, just to kind of get a more torn edge. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. A little allergies, a little sneeze. Okay. I think I'm going to keep that whole piece there like that. And then, I wonder if I can get this ink blot here into the picture. Let's just see. Kind of put it in this spot. Oh, I like that. That's what it's going to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this up. Some of just this whole sheet. Yeah, so anyway, you get the idea. So you can go back through, and as we do each of these techniques, you can really continue to build on your pages. And that's why I wanted to go through this with everyone this year, because I don't always think that, you know, we sort of have a tendency to think that way naturally, that that, you know, all these different gel plate techniques can really build on themselves. They kind of, I feel like a lot of times what I see is people starting with, you know, like with a fresh sheet every time and not really thinking about this technique. But, you know, I mean, others that, you know, sort of show it. I don't know. I feel like sometimes we don't necessarily always come back. I mean, there are those that are printmakers and they really do build the techniques. But I think as a rule, with as many prints as we end up with these days, to start really thinking about coming back to our work and doubling down and, you know, kind of coming back to stuff with fresh techniques is definitely something to consider. Okay, so what happened to my little ink blot? Oh, here it is. I'm gonna put that there. So yeah, that's ink blots. Just another way of thinking about them in terms of making them tonal, you know, softer colors, and some colors that are a little more bold. If we work on our sheets like we're doing here, then you know, with these translucent papers, we can build up. And we can just make some really cool collages on our pages as we move through. This right here gives me something to come back to. You know, I could even script on top of this, but I just love it, you know, and that's just using that technique. So hope you all enjoyed this session and, you know, give you some more ideas to keep on moving through this journal. And make sure, as always, to thumb up the video and, you know, share this out with others who you think may enjoy what we're doing here. And until next week, you all have a lot of fun. Enjoy your studio time. Love you a lot. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.